I wanted to do a bit with this car, but this is just too difficult. I can't see anything at all. I think camera is somewhere here. Hello! This is my Halloween decoration. It's a bit big. I wanted to make this video earlier, but I had a sore throat for like 2 months. And I went to a doctor, and the doctor shoved a camera down my throat through my nose, like this. And he said that everything was pretty much fine, and I'm much better now. So here I am. For the last 2 years, I've been developing this driving game where you dodge obstacles and drive on magnetic pipes, and there's glass that shatters under the car, and you break through magical walls by drifting and do some tricks in a half pipe, stuff like that. However, and unfortunately, I have made a big decision regarding this project, and I'll get back to that at the end of the video. But first, I wanted to talk about the challenges that I faced and that led up to this decision. The first thing that happened was that I reached 1,000 subscribers. Thank you. And I wanted to create a 1,000 subs special. A while back, when I hit 100 subs, I made this silly cinematic where the car from the game drives around, and I thought, why not make this a sort of a tradition? Around the same time, Unreal Engine version 5.4 was released, and it had this new experimental feature called motion design. I didn't even know what motion design was, but it looked interesting, and I decided to make the 1000 special using these motion design features. When I watched motion design tutorials, there were usually just a few objects moving at the same time, but I wanted more, so I made a sea with over 1 million moving meshes. And for some reason, I started to have some technical issues. The engine crashed all the time, but that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that some objects would just disappear in rendering. Often this is not a huge issue because you can just re-render, but this was systematic. So the same parts disappeared every time when the camera was in a certain location. So what I tried to do is move the camera a bit and hope that nothing disappears. And in this take, I just gave up and zoomed in so that the disappearing sea is not visible. Now, the animation was a separate project file, but I also updated the game project itself to version 5.4, and it worked without issues. well, not quite. There was one issue that I noticed immediately, and I got it fixed, and everything seemed fine after that. Then at some point, I noticed that one of the textures in the game has a very low resolution. I thought, well, it just had wrong settings for some reason. Then I find another texture with the same problem, and then another one, and I realized that something's not right. And at this point, I don't even associate the problem with the version update. About a year ago, I had a problem with data corruption, and I'm still traumatized by it, so my mind automatically goes like, this is corruption. And I go in an entirely wrong direction when trying to fix this issue. But yeah, that too was an issue with the version update, and I found a fix on Reddit, and yeah, everything is fine. So yeah, I was a bit stressed out at that point, but then I got the idea, what if I learned C++? In case you don't know, there are 2 ways to program in Unreal Engine. Until now, I've done everything in blueprints. It's this visual programming thing where you can do your almost literal spaghetti code. But there are some things that you either can do easily or can't do at all in blueprints, and that's where C++ comes in. And it's a proper programming language. You can make or break pretty much anything with it. But probably the best thing about C++ is that according to W3 schools, it's fun and easy to learn. Don't get me wrong, learning C++ has been fun and I encourage learning it. But the easy part might be a bit misleading. Or maybe I'm just dumb. I'm losing my voice. Anyway, at one point I noticed that I was a bit tired and I took a short break from all of this. And I realized that something had to change. So there was just too much stuff that I had to do in order to make the game ready for release. So I made a decision regarding Panic Lane, and it was a difficult decision, but I had to do it. So I will cut out the container world. The original plan was to have 5 different worlds: the lava, half-pipe, glass, pipe, and the container world. While the other worlds are close to being finished in terms of mechanics, the container world never left the prototype phase, and I just don't have energy to make it playable. The idea for the container world was that the player would have to position the car correctly before reaching an obstacle. For example, if you see, let's say, yellow containers, it would mean that you have to slow down a bit and position the car on the left side of the track. I made like 10 different prototypes and just could not make it work. I think one of the main problems was the lack of immediate feedback. If the car was in the wrong location, you will see the consequences only after a few seconds, which makes connecting cause and effect more difficult. And while you play, you don't have too much brain capacity available. This is essentially a puzzle game with time restriction. I did try to communicate the idea by adding arrows and road signs and tried to design the track itself so that the player chooses the correct path by accident. But even when the playtesters knew what they had to do, no one was having a good time. Another problem is that the obstacles had this binary nature. You either get through or you don't. While in other worlds, the progress is more gradual. Anyway, I'm really glad I don't have to deal with that piece of something anymore. It's sad, but I think no one will miss the containers. All the good stuff will still be in the game, so go wishlist Panic Lane on Steam. There's a link in the description. Please like the video if you enjoyed it and consider subscribing if you want to see how this thing pans out. As always, huge thanks for watching and I will see you in the future. One thing I wanted to mention is that I am completely fine, so do not worry about me, everything is fine. Yeah.